Hare Krishna devotees, we'll make a start. And thank you for joining this morning. So we've been talking about the Prachetas now. Dynasty is going on. And we're just moving back to the Prachetas' father, King Parcinabahri. So the princes have gone to do sphere austerities in the water for 10,000 years. So what's been happening is while the princes were undergoing severe austerities in the water, their father was performing different types of fruitive activities. So at this time, the great Saint Narada, master and teacher of all spiritual life, became very compassionate upon the king and decided to instruct him about spiritual life. So let's do a quick prayer and happy Shayana Ekadashi to everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Proti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Girim Yat Kirpatam Hamandeshi Gurundin Taranam Paramananda Madhvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tassat Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatyasam Tato Chema Duriyat Nasta Peshva Badareshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtaki. So Narada asking Parcinabahri, my dear, so he's the father of the Prachetas, my dear king, what do you desire to achieve by performing these fruity activities? The chief aim of life is to get rid of all miseries and enjoy happiness, but these two things cannot be realized by fruitive activities. In this material world, there is a great illusion which covers real intelligence. A man in the mode of passion wants to work very hard to derive some benefit, but he doesn't know that time will never allow him to enjoy anything permanently. Compared with the work one expends, the gain is not so profitable. So you have to work really hard to get very little. And the example is given of a donkey who works hard all day for a little bit of grass. And even we say that, after all, you're just going to have two chapatis, no matter how hard you work. That's the saying, that's the resultant of all the force that you apply in working hard and earning. There's only so much you can eat. And to be honest, I have seen people who have tried to eat a bit more and it shows in their body, but you only wreck your health so if you overdo things anyway. So really don't know. It is not without its distresses as well, right? So even if it's profitable, it's not without its distresses, working too hard. If a man is not born rich and he wants to purchase a house, cars, and other material things, he has to work hard day and night for many years in order to possess them. Thus, happiness is not attained without undergoing some distress. Now, actually, the irony is that all our lives, we were advised by our parents, work hard, work hard, work hard. And Nashurpa is saying the opposite. He's not saying that don't work. He's saying that don't overwork. Don't forget spiritual life, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be more important than too much endeavor that you never live long enough to enjoy, and in the process you may be detrimental to your health as well. So the king replied to Narada Muni, "Oh great soul Narada, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Therefore, I don't know the ultimate goal of life. Kindly instruct me in pure knowledge so that I can get out of the entanglement of fruitive activities." So the king realizes, but he's under the control of the modes, and he says that he doesn't know what to do, and he's completely under this spell. So those who are interested only in a so-called dutiful life namely remaining as a householder, entangled by sons and a wife, searching after wealth, think that such things are life's ultimate goal. Such people simply wander in different parts of bodies throughout this material existence without finding out the ultimate goal of life. So we have many goals. They're really sub-goals. The ultimate goal of life is getting out of this circle of birth and death, or this cycle of birth and death. The great Saint Narada said, "O ruler of the citizens, my dear king, please see in the sky those animals which you have sacrificed without compassion and without mercy in the sacrificial arena." So he's been doing a lot of yajnas, for sense gratification. All these animals are awaiting your death so they can avenge the injuries you have inflicted upon them. After you die, they will angrily pierce your body with iron horns. So Narada wanted to draw King Parcinabahri's attention to the excesses of killing animals in sacrifices. It is said in the Shastra that by killing animals in a sacrifice, one immediately promotes them to human birth. Similarly, by killing their enemies on a battlefield, the Kshatriyas who fight for a right cause are elevated to the heavenly planets after death. In Manu Samhita, it is stated that it is necessary for a king to execute a murderer so that the murderer will not suffer for his criminal actions in his next life. On the basis of such understanding, Narada warns the king that the animals killed in sacrifices by the king await him at his death in order to avenge themselves. Narada is not contradicting himself here. Narada wanted to convince the king that overindulgence in animal sacrifice is risky, because as soon as there is a small discrepancy in the execution of such a sacrifice, the slaughtered animal may not be promoted to a human form of life. So mistakes happen. If you do this too many times, sooner or later there's going to be some mistakes made, and the animal will be sacrificed unnecessarily. Consequently, the person performing sacrifice will be responsible for the death of the animal, just as much as a murderer is responsible for killing another man. So then it becomes murder. When animals are killed in a slaughterhouse, so Prabhupada is giving an example of when animals are killed in a slaughterhouse. 6 people connected with the killing are responsible for that murder. The person who gives permission for the killing, the person who kills, the person who helps, the person who purchases the meat, and the person who cooks the flesh, and the person who eats it, all become entangled in the killing. Narada wanted to draw the king's attention to this fact. Thus, animal killing is not encouraged even in a sacrifice. So, as we were saying last time, that if you are eating in a restaurant that's serving meat, then you are also implicated. If you're supporting them, then you're also implicated in what they're doing. Narada continued to speak to King Parcinabahri. My dear king, any person who works according to the directions of Vedic scriptures does not become involved in fruity activities. Just as a government may issue trade licenses on an order for its citizens to act in a certain way, the Vedas contain injunctions that restrain and regulate all of our fruity activities. All living entities have come into this material world to enjoy themselves. Consequently, the Vedas are given to regulate sense enjoyment. So they're saying that the senses that they can enjoy, but has to be done in regulation, in a system. One who enjoys his senses under the Vedic regulative principle does not become entangled in the actions and reactions of his activities. As stated in Bhagavad-Gita, Yagyathat karmana, one should act only for the performance of yagya or to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Anyatra loko yam karambandhana. Otherwise, any action will produce a reaction by which the living entity will be bound. A human being is especially meant to attain liberation from the bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease. So when you're doing all these sense gratificatory actions, you are bound again into the material life. He is therefore directed by the Vedic principles to work in such a way that he may fulfill his desires for sense gratification, but at the same time gradually become freed from material bondage. So this is the formula given, that you can have sense gratification, but it should be attached with freedom as well, the process of getting freed from material bondage. So according to such principles is called knowledge. Indeed, the word Veda means knowledge. The words Jnanena Nasa Lipyate indicates that by following the Vedic principles, one does not become involved in the actions and reactions of his fruity activities. So everyone is therefore advised to act in terms of the Vedic injunctions, not irresponsibly. That's the key. When a person within a state acts according to the laws and licenses of the government, he does not become involved in criminal activities. Man-made laws, however, are always defective because they are made by men who are prone to committing mistakes, being illusioned, cheating, and having imperfect senses. So these are our 4 defects that we have. And if with these 4 defects we make any laws, they will also be defective as well. Vedic instructions are not subject to mistakes. The knowledge of the Vedas is knowledge received directly from God. And there is consequently no question of illusion, cheating, mistakes, or imperfect senses. All Vedic knowledge is perfect because it is received directly from God by the parampara, disciplic succession. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first shloka, it is said, Tene Brahma Hirdayava Ya Adi Kaviye. The original creature of his universe, known as Adi Kavi or Lord Brahma, was instructed by Krishna through the heart. After receiving these Vedic instructions from Lord Krishna himself, Brahma distributed the knowledge by the parampara system to Narada, and Narada in turn distributed the knowledge to Vyas. In this way, Vedic knowledge is perfect. If we act according to Vedic knowledge, there is no question of being involved in sinful activities. So the information received by Brahma was through the heart, so it was directly given to him by the Lord. So otherwise, a person who acts whimsically falls down due to false prestige. Thus, he becomes involved in the laws of nature, which are composed of the 3 qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. In this way, a living entity becomes devoid of his real intelligence and becomes perpetually lost in the cycle of birth and death. Thus, he goes up and down from a microbe in stool to a high position in Brahmalok planet. This is the weird thing that we can be hero or we can be zero within this, with this whichever body we are nominated to take. We can have a body of a microbe, or we can have a body of Brahma himself, the highest planet, Brahmalok. A person who's a non-devotee has no good qualifications because he acts on the mental platform. One who acts on the mental platform has to change his standard of knowledge periodically. So, our beliefs keep changing, right? We think, now I might think, oh, I know everything. And then 10 years down the line, I think, nah, I was wrong. We should be like this. Our thinking is always changing. So one who acts on the mental platform has to change his standard of knowledge periodically. We consequently see that philosopher may disagree with another philosopher, and one scientist may put forward a theory contradicting the theory of another scientist. All of this is due to their working on the mental platform without a standard of knowledge. In the Vedic instructions, however, the standard knowledge is accepted, even though it may sometimes appear that the statements are contradictory. because the Vedas are the standard of knowledge. Even though they may appear contradictory, they should be accepted. If one does not accept them, he will be bound by the material conditions. Materialistic persons who are too much engaged in material enjoyment and who don't know anything beyond their material experiences are carried by the whims of material nature. They live a life characterized by chewing the chewed, and they are controlled by their uncontrolled senses. Thus, they go down to the darkest regions of hellish life. So, the dangers are given here by doing things at our own concoction, because everything is subjective, right? Most things are subjective, and we have our own way of thinking. We have our own likes and dislikes, and we have our own opinions on matters of what is right and wrong. But these are just personal thing, and it's not necessarily the right. It might be the right one for us, or at least we think it is, but it's not necessarily the right thing. So there's a standard to follow, and that's why it's important to follow spiritual standard, because that is the correct standard. When the living entity wants to enjoy the modes of material nature in their totality, he prefers out of many bodily forms to accept a body which has 9 gates. And the body with the 9 gates has 2 hands, 2 legs. Thus it prefers to become a human being or a demigod. This is a very nice explanation of how the spiritual being, the part and parcel of Krishna, God, accepts a material body by virtue of his own desires, accepting 2 hands, 2 legs, and so on. The living entity fully enjoys the modes of material nature. And Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita 7.27, Ishadvesha Samutena Dvandva Mahena Bharata Sarva Bhutani Samaham Sarge Yanti Parantapa. Which means, O sign of Bharat, which was Arjun, O conqueror of all the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Originally, the living entity is a spiritual being. But when he actually desires to enjoy this material world, he comes down from this verse, we can understand that the living entity first accepts a body that is human in form, but gradually, due to his degraded activities, he falls into lower forms of life. So first we are given the body of a human being, and probably a very pious and very spiritual, loving human being. But because we're in delusion over time, and we're controlled by the modes of nature, we can fall from goodness to passion to ignorance, and so on. So we come down according to this. So gradually, due to his degraded activities, he falls into lower forms of life, into the animal, plant, and aquatic forms by the gradual process of evolution. So this is opposite to Darwin's theory. Darwin thinks that we evolved from small creatures and became human, but this says we were human, but we came down to the smaller creatures. This is amazing. If he again misses his chance in the human form to understand his position, he is again placed in the cycle of birth and death in various types of bodies. So it's very interesting. The desire of the living entity to come into the material world is not very difficult to understand. Although one may be born in a family of Aryans, where there are restrictions against meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex, still one may want to enjoy these forbidden things. There is always someone who wants to go to a prostitute, to a hotel to eat meat and drink wine, or to a gambling club to enjoy so-called sports. So all these propensities are already within the hearts of the living entities. Loke vya Va ahimsa madhya seva nitya hi janto. But some living entities stop to enjoy these abominable activities and consequently fall down to a degraded platform. The more one desires a degraded life within his heart, the more he falls down to occupy different forms of abominable existence. This is the process of transmigration and evolution. A particular type of animal may have a strong tendency to enjoy one kind of sense enjoyment. So we have a particular type of enjoyment that we really want to do, then you'll get that particular body to enjoy that to the full. Because as human beings, we are sometimes limited. We have spectrum of enjoyments we can do, but we are limited in how much we can enjoy that particular enjoyment. But then you're given, if you really have a fetish for something in particular, as say meat eating, for example, you love to eat meat, then you're given the body of a tiger or something like that, that you can enjoy fully day and night. All your meals will be meat meals. Don't have to eat vegetarian meals if you don't want to. All your 3-4 meals will be meat. So enjoy, to your full capacity. But in the human form, one can enjoy all the senses. The human form has facility to utilize all the senses for gratification. Unless one is properly trained, he becomes a victim of the modes of material nature, as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita. So, as humans, we enjoy all the senses, but a little bit of each. Whereas as an animal, you may have a propensity to enjoy just one type of enjoyment. The great sage Narada continued, the word paramada mentioned in this regard refers to material intelligence or ignorance. It is to be understood as such. When one takes shelter of this kind of intelligence, he identifies himself with the material body, influenced by the material consciousness of I and mind. He begins to enjoy and suffer through his senses, thus the living entity is entrapped. In material existence, so-called intelligence is actually ignorance. When intelligence is cleared up, it is called buddhi yoga. In other words, when intelligence is dovetailed with the desires of Krishna, it is buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. Therefore, bhakti yoga, Bhagavad-Gita mentions about this, about buddhi yoga. It says in 10.10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So the buddhi yoga, the intelligence is given from inside, from Krishna himself, when he sees that you are serious and you're constantly worshipping him. That he will give you the intelligence. The real intelligence means linking with the Supreme Personality Godhead. When this is done, the Supreme Personality Godhead from within gives one the real intelligence by which can return home. Because we are in illusion. So Krishna, we can read and hear, and then Krishna also helps from within as well. Intelligence in the material world is described in the verse as paramada, because the material existence, the living entity falsely claims things to be his. He thinks, I am the monarch of all I survey. This is ignorance. Actually, nothing belongs to him. Even the body and senses don't belong to him, for they're given to him by the grace of the Lord to satisfy the different propensities through the material energy. And you see that you are actually even given even like a quota for enjoyment in this body, in this life. You're given a quota. Doesn't matter how big, strong body you have. When the quota runs out, then material nature will take the body back from you. And you'll be ready or prepared for your next destination, your next body. So the that body is given according to your enjoyment propensity, and according to your karma, whether you have certain enjoyment you want, but do you deserve? Have you done the karma to deserve to enjoy that particular in that particular way that you want to enjoy? Then you'll get that body. But there's a cutoff point that, okay, you've done the enjoyment through this body in this life. Now this body has to be returned back. It's like, you go for anything. So you go ice skating, they'll give you, the ice skating shoes, but there's like a limit to, you have 1 hour or 2 hour, whatever you booked for. In that way, you paid by monetary, you pay monetarily, but I guess with us, we pay through our karmas, and then we're given such amount of time that you can enjoy this body, and then material nature wants that body, it'll take it back from you, and then how you behaved in this body will determine your next body and whether you are able to enjoy your desires accordingly. So there's a process to everything, and if somebody doesn't believe in God and a supreme being, well, you can see there's a process going on, and somebody's controlling all this. So nothing actually belongs to the living entity, but it becomes mad after everything, claiming this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Janasya moho yam aham mameti. This is called illusion. Nothing belongs to the living entity, but he claims that everything belongs to him. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that this false intelligence to be purified as soon as possible. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. When the mirror of intelligence is polished, the real activity of the living entity begin. This means that when a person comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, his real intelligence acts. At that time, he knows that everything belongs to Krishna and nothing belongs to him. As long as one thinks that everything belongs to him, he is in material consciousness. And when he knows perfectly that everything belongs to Krishna, he's in Krishna consciousness. So this is the process, and to be honest, I really enjoyed this reading, and but I think only the privileged had the opportunity to listen to it today, but that's fine. It was important that we have this reading today because not available tomorrow, and being Ekadashi, I thought it'd be really interesting to do this. So thank you very much for joining, Hina Mataji and Praveen Mataji. Please add your realization and what you learned from this. Love to hear. Hina Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Thank you so much for rescheduling this today. Most fortunate, especially because it is Ekadashi as well. So thank you so much. Wow, so many nice points from this verse. Really, lots of nectar. Where do I start? I really like the donkey example that you started off the verse with, and it's so instructive as well that we look around and we see people around us all the time where we're working so hard, over endeavoring for things. And like you said, everything's allotted. We have a quota, predestined in terms of how much happiness and pleasure and sadness we're going to get in our lifetime. So it's going to come to us naturally. It's going to come to us whether we strive for it or not strive for it. So what is the point of over endeavoring and working? It's just not the point of, it's just not the objective of our life. It's just not the point of our life, really. And we kind of just lose focus, I think, when we're in that mindset. And I think a lot of people are of that mindset. And then there's some really nice points about around how Vedic knowledge comes from God, and that being like the perfect knowledge, that is the standard of knowledge. It's not the education that we receive through going to school and standard education in this, in this life, or general knowledge, that's not perfect knowledge. That should be, like you're saying, that should be almost like the guiding force of our life. That knowledge is what we should be endeavoring for. That's what we should be focusing on. That's what we need to be, digging more into that. Do you know what I mean? Endeavoring more to go deep into that knowledge rather than in other general knowledge. And there was also some nice points around about how the human life, you kind of mentioned it. Human life is almost like, it's like a crossroads. We can go higher or we can go lower. We can, through our desires, if we can degrade ourselves through having material desires. Whereas really we need to kind of focus in on having elevated spiritual desires, making Krishna Prema our goal of life will elevate us, rather, going back to Godhead, rather than degrading ourselves and going into like lower life forms. Really, this is such an important stage of where we are really in our, even, throughout our whole spiritual life, where we are in terms of having a human life form. It's so important. We can easily make the wrong decision. We can easily, pursue the wrong desires. So we need to kind of almost guard against that. And then, you ended some nice points around reminding us that our buddhi comes from Krishna. He gives us the intelligence, like the guiding force from within. So many nice points, but those are the ones that stuck out for me. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Absolutely right. Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely right. So our thinking, how we think, is controlled by the three modes of nature. So depending on which mode we're in, we will make decisions according to that mode. So, this is why we say, oh, this is right for me, because I'm in that mode. If I'm in mode of passion, I might think, I've got to work really hard. Somebody in the mode of goodness may think, no, work too hard is not the way. It's important to acquire knowledge, and happiness comes from that, or spirituality is more important. And you might think, no, this is time for me to earn a lot of money. Spirituality can wait. There's plenty of time. I can do that later on. When I'm retired or semi-retired, I can concentrate on that. So it's like that, not different things are right for different people according to maybe the stage of life or according to the mode they're in. But as you mentioned, that the standard is set in the Vedas, and that is the true standard, not the standard we think we made for ourselves. And I remember somebody mentioning, I overheard a conversation. They were saying that they could really debate on Bhagavad-Gita. And this is a long time ago. I really hadn't read Bhagavad-Gita then or knew anything about it. And saying, oh, we can beat anybody in a debate in Bhagavad-Gita. And I'm thinking now, after this reading, that should we be even debating Bhagavad-Gita? Prabhupada says it's Bhagavad-Gita as it is. So you take the information and you don't debate it, because one person saying, no, Krishna meant this. Someone said, no, Krishna meant this. No, it was like this. It was like this. We are fortunate to have purports by Srila Prabhupada that explains what Krishna was saying. There's no debate. It's all there. Information is there. And, we take it from the authority, from the disciplic succession, who will tell us that how it is. It's like that. And I don't think the Vedas are, open for debate, to be honest. And that's what Prabhupada says, as it is. And that's how we should take it as it is. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Praveen Mataji, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam to everyone. Yes, thank you so much for the reading, Prabhuji. Yeah. And it clearly tells us, we have to live our life according to the Vedic regulations to be happy. And the reason why there is so much suffering is because everybody has moved away from the Vedas. There's no real knowledge. It's not passed on. So whatever the reasons are, the invasions by the Mughals and whatever, then India, everything, I think, like I feel we didn't get anything when we were little. We didn't learn anything because the standard was set by the society. You have to work hard. You have to achieve this, this, this. So now I feel like my grandson, because when my daughter, he's encouraging him to do other things, and then I'm thinking, are we trying to make him passionate about other things? Is it the right thing to do? So, but then there is only so much I can do really, because like yesterday they lost their pet and he was so I had to go because I knew he will cry, and he was just crying, I want my Oreo. And then I said, no, he has gone back to Krishna, because that was the only way I could console him. And then to like put flowers where he was, and I think it did help to a certain extent. And then I was trying to excite him about the Rath Yatra in Leicester. I said, Krishna is coming, we are all going to sing and dance. So it clearly shows, the importance of knowledge. So how it can affect, otherwise he would have, I knew he will keep crying. So I said, no, I have to go and be there when you tell him. But I've got a question, Prabhuji. It came even before, like Prabhupaji, he wrote in one of the purports that to eat meat is the natural desire or natural propensity. Even today it came, propensity in heart to meat eating, gambling, and this and that. Is that right? Because if we are part and parcel of the Lord, how can we have the natural propensity? Because I never had the desire to eat, and I always say I'm so grateful to Krishna that I never ate anything, like that.
Yeah, I mean, I never had the natural desire to
Yeah.
eat, and I think see, thing is, one you see now Kentucky Fried Chicken, they're advertising, this black body person is holding a drumstick in his hand,
Mm.
and he's
Mm.
so advertising entices you to eat meat, and then from day, well, as soon as you start eating from a very young age, you are fed meat, so your tongue is used to eating.
Mm.
It's not that if you didn't eat meat, then you would miss it, right? But because your tongue has become eating the taste, so you will want that. And also, um, scientifically, whatever your mother was eating while you were in a womb, then you acquire those tastes as well,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, naturally, if they say, oh, you have meat eating propensity, that's probably because your mother was eating it, and then that taste developed in you before you were born. So that way I can understand. But I don't think we don't. Our teeth are not meant for cutting into meat and all that. We're not meat eating creatures.
Exactly. I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday, actually, when I was driving. I said, at this point came to my mind. I said, I don't know why Prabhupada said this, because, like, it's always said that our teeth are not for, and bodies are, our intestines, they're not designed to digest meat and everything. So, yeah, I was like struggling with that point.
So you said Prabhupada said this, that we have desire to eat meat.
Yeah, because I can't remember where it was. It was like a few months back, we read that, then I just left. But even today, I think it came, propensity in heart when you were reading about meat eating and all that. So,
I'll check. I think Radharani is checking. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
to be honest, I don't. Like I said, it's society and our upbringing. We have this propensity to eat meat because that's why we brought up. A lot,
Mm.
lot of families don't eat meat. Why don't they have the present? So it's not natural for everyone. So like I say, it also depends on which mode you're in. It's very important. If you're mode of English passion, then you might be inclined. So we are controlled by the modes. So it's not for everyone that has the propensity to eat meat. We are controlled by the modes. So if you are controlled by a certain mode, then you'll have certain propensities. It's like saying everybody wants to drink alcohol or smoke weed or something, but not necessarily, although
No.
many people are doing it. But again, it's because their parents did it, and now they are doing, and also they see the society doing it. They have association of those people doing it. Somebody who's dealing in arms in a warfare, and somebody dealing arms warfare, he will argument will be, my father was selling arms to other countries, my grandfather was selling guns to other countries, so I'm doing it. You can justify it like that, but it doesn't make it right. But it's because his family were following that, then he has that propensity to, and he can, it can be condoned because his parents condoned it, so he thinks it's okay to do it because his generations did that. But I don't think it's a natural.
No,
I don't think that's what Prabhupada went. What was that? Can you read it out?
no.
The desire of living to come into the material world is not very difficult to understand. Although one may be born in a family of Aryans where there is restrictions against meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and sex, still one may want to enjoy these forbidden things. So it doesn't mean it's propensity. It's just say one may want to enjoy these things. So the people, different people want to enjoy different things. So it doesn't mean it's a natural. Like say it's natural as drinking alcohol or smoking something or taking drugs. Depends on your sangha association, depends on your family, and depends on what mode you control by. In Brahman family, the whole family may be vegetarians and teetotalers like that, and one child I've seen as well, like family are very religious, but there's one child who's is a rebellion, and he will be drinking, smoking, everything. There's one example that we saw that went to this one of my friends, the Brahmins, and very religious, and the mother passed away. My friend's mother passed away, and went down to pay her respects. And then one of the brothers, he was carrying cans of beer, and this is like the mother hadn't even been cremated yet, and he was carrying cans of beer. He's going to have some beer like that. We felt it terrible that he should be doing some austerity, while people are coming to your house instead of drinking alcohol. You should be restraining. There's no restraint. So the rest of the family was fine. Nobody was drinking alcohol, eating meat, anything like that. So everybody's different. This is what this reading's all about. That everybody's different. We have propensities, but not everybody has the same propensity.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you all so much. And let's, Radhan, you want to add anything? Okay, to next. Okay.